Hey everybody, we're going to be looking at problem solving with integers today. Number one January day, the low temperature in Fargo, North Dakota was -8 degrees. The same day, the temperature in Tempe, Arizona was 39 degrees. What was the difference in the two cities' low temperatures? So basically what they want you to think about is the temperature in Fargo and Temp. And then what you need to know is the difference in the temperature. So we're looking at -8 and we're looking at 39. So it's really 39 and I am subtracting to find the difference at the -8. Remember, add a line, change the sign, so that's really 39 plus the 8 equals. So if I were to add 39 and 8, I would get 47 degrees. Think through the situation, then follow the rules for integer operations. Draw a number line or a model to help. Sometimes it helps to have a picture just to see what it looks like. Okay. A submarine is traveling 200 feet below sea level, so that would be a -200 feet. It then ascends, that means to go up 75 feet. What is the new position of the submarine? So we have the -200 feet, but then we're adding to that the 75 feet right there. Okay, so basically when I look at this, I know that I have a bigger negative number. My integer is farther from absolute zero there. So it's 200, and I'm going to be adding to that the 75. Okay, so I know I'm going to get a negative answer. I have to borrow. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. And I drop my 1. -125. And of course that is feet. Alright, let's go to the next question. It says New Orleans is 7 feet below sea level. So that would be -7. If Houston is 88 feet higher than New Orleans, what is the elevation of Houston? So it's really the -7, and we're adding in the 88, and that's going to equal the 81 whenever you end up finishing up your operations. Look at your next problem. Jonathan borrowed $25 from his sister, so that would be -25. After receiving his allowance, he pays her 7. Well, that's a +7. How much does Jonathan still owe his sister? So it had -25, we had 7, we end up with a -18. At the beginning of the day, the temperature is -11 degrees Fahrenheit. As the sun comes out, it warms to a high of 13 degrees Fahrenheit. What is the difference in temperature throughout the day? So we have a -11 and we have a 13. They want the difference, so we're going to take our 13 and subtract out the -11. So that's 13 minus the -11, and we end up with 24. An elevator is on the 15th floor. It goes down 6 floors, so that's 15 minus 6. What floor is the elevator on now? So here's our 15 minus 6, and we get 9. Taylor has $27 in his checking account. He then writes a check for $35. What is the balance of Taylor's bank account? So you would take your 27, but then you have to subtract out your 35. You've spent more than you actually have in your account, and you end up with -8. A scuba diver dove to 40 feet below the surface of the water. He then dove an additional 17 feet. Okay, so we went down 40, but then we went down another 17 feet. What is the depth of the scuba diver? So it would really be your negative 40, but then you're adding to that the negative 17, and that gives you negative 57. A quarterback dropped back 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, so that's a negative 5 because it says 5 yards behind. He passed the ball 14 yards. Well, that's an addition. How far past the line of scrimmage did the ball travel? So negative 5, and we add the 14 and we get 9. Jeff wants to purchase a wallet for $33. He currently has 18. By how much will he be in debt if he decides to borrow the difference? So you take your 33, but you have to subtract out the 18, and that would give you the 15 here. During the first half of a football game, a running back ran for 9 total yards. So that's an addition, right? 9. In the second half, he ran for a loss of 12 yards. So you're adding to that the negative, which is your loss, and you end up with a negative answer. When you subtract 12 minus 9, you get 3. So that's a negative 3. Multiplying and dividing integers with models. So 3 and that little dot 4, that really means that you're multiplying. So that's 3 groups of 4 is what that means. That means you have 3 groups of 4. Okay, so remember your positive counters are all going to be yellow when you think about those. All of your positives are going to be yellow. Like that. And then all of your negative counters are going to be red. Okay, so you're going to have several of those as well. Think about those as being red. Now when you work your paper, if you're working a paper, you can color those if you're on a sheet and make them yellow or red based on whether they are positives or negatives. Now it says to model the following multiplication problems. 2 times 4 equals 8. So that means you have 2 groups of 4. 2 groups of 4, which would be like this, 2 groups of 4, and I have 8. So the next one says 2 times negative 4. Anytime you're multiplying a positive and a negative, you are going to get a negative answer. So 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. And let me show you something too. Whenever you guys are looking at trying to decide if it's a positive or a negative, if you look at it like this, like you have a little pizza man here, if you are multiplying or dividing 2 negatives, what's left? A positive. So your answer is going to be a positive. So if you are multiplying or dividing and you have a positive and a negative like this, what's left? It's a negative. So your answer is going to be a negative. So that's one way to help you with that. Look at number 2 again. 2 times negative 4 equals negative 8. So you're multiplying a positive times a negative and you get negative 8. Number 3. 2 times negative 5. Again, you're multiplying a positive and a negative, so you're going to get a negative. So 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. If 2 times 4 equals 8, and 2 times negative 4 equals negative 8, then what do you think negative 2 times negative 4 equals? Well, remember, it is a negative times a negative, so that's going to be a positive, right? So it's a positive 8. All right, let's look at number 4. 9 divided by 3 equals 3. 9 divided by 3 equals 3. So we have 2 positives. We're going to end up with a positive. 9 divided by 3 is 3. You just get a positive. Now, if you have a negative and a positive, you get a negative answer. Negative 9 divided by positive 3 is going to be a negative 3. Negative 6 divided by 2. Again, I have a negative and a positive, so I get a negative number. Negative 6 divided by negative 2 equals negative 3. Just remember that little person, the little pizza man. He can always help you whenever you're multiplying or dividing, if you think about what you're working with. Okay, so we're going to look at numbers on a number line, multiplication, and on a number line. So if I had 3 times 3, that would be 3 jumps with 3 in each jump. So 3, 6, 9. This would be 5 times negative 1. I would have 5 jumps, but I'm going backwards. It's a negative number 1 time, so I have to go in this direction to the left because it is negative. A positive 2 times a negative 3 equals negative 6. So I'm having to go left again because it's a negative, and I'm doing little jumps. I'm doing 2 jumps of 3. So you can see those there. Here we're doing 2 jumps with 5 in each jump, and it's 2 times 5. They're both positive, so you're going to get a positive number. If 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, then what do you think negative 3 times negative 3 equals? Well, it's 9. Because you have a negative and a negative, that makes it a positive. Just remember, working with your little pizza man, if you have a negative and a negative, what's left? It's your positive. Look at number 11. Multiply or divide the following integers. Use a model of your choice to test the patterns you have discovered. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. Either one that we have shown you today, including the counters or the number lines, would work. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. Positive 6 times negative 5. Positive times a negative is a negative. 6 times 5 is 30, negative 30. 4 times negative 5, again, I have a negative number. 4 times 5 is 20, but it's negative 20. 6 times 5 is 30. They're both positive, so it's just a positive. It's negative 16 divided by 8. I have a negative and a positive. I get a negative 2. 28 divided by negative 7. Since I have a positive and a negative, I end up with negative 4. 28 divided by 7 is 4, and it's negative. This one's easy. It's just a positive. 6 times 9, I get 54. Negative 11 times negative 4. Okay, this is a negative times a negative. And if you'll remember up here, we just talked about that. A negative times a negative gives you a positive 44 in this case. 80 divided by negative 10. Since I have a positive and a negative, I know I'm going to get a negative. So 80 divided by negative 10 is going to give me negative 8. Okay, so we're going to be looking at just the top portion of this page. Integers can also be multiplied and divided using an algorithm or a set of rules. Multiply or divide the two numbers. If the signs are the same, then the answer is positive. So if it's a positive and a positive, it's a positive. If it's a negative and a negative, it's a positive. Okay, if the signs are different, then the answer is always going to be a negative. So a positive and a negative is a negative, and a negative and a positive is a negative. I think you guys are ready to start reviewing and preparing for your test. And that's what we're going to be looking at in the next video.